Today, we are going to talk about the Chinese drama Blossom. This is a long overdue review of this Chinese drama. For this year, but also I should have watched this drama a year ago, maybe two, but I also should have finished this February, March. Finally, I finished this drama, and here is my final review of the Chinese drama Blossom from 2024. Now, before I get into my review, I'm going to introduce this Chinese drama, even though I think it needs no introduction. I'm not going to do a full introduction of this. But this is a romance Chinese drama from 2024. As I said, titled Blossom. You have 34 episodes. It aired from December 6th to December 22nd, and it is a Tencent drama. This Chinese drama, of course, stars Meng Zi and Li Yunrui. Also stars Snow Kong, Shi Ziguang, among others. But of course, we're here to talk about the main couple. I mean, I think everybody watches this for the main couple. This drama kinda was a catalyst for them to skyrocket into more popularity than they already did, and in my opinion, that is warranted, for sure, with Blossom. If you have no idea what Blossom is about, a quick synopsis of this is you have the main female lead. She lives this one life full of injustice and betrayal and just a really hard life, and she ends up dying and is reborn again when she's a child, when she's a teenager. So she relives this life and tries to fix the issues that came about in her first life, avoid scenarios that she wants to avoid, and live the life that she truly, really wants to live. In her first life and her second life, she meets Li Yunrui's character, and they eventually start a romance in her second life. I'm trying not to really reveal too much in the synopsis because there's reasons why they meet in the first life and the second life, and so on and so forth. I don't want to spoil too much. There will be spoilers in this review, though, so if you have not watched this Chinese drama, please don't continue watching because I am going to be talking about the end, but I just wanted to give a little synopsis of this. So what did I rate Blossom? I overall gave the rating an 8.5 out of 10 to Blossom. I think the hype got to me. I had heard so much about this drama, especially when it was airing. I did not watch this as it aired. I should have. But then also it came up again, of course, with Pursuit of Jade, which I'm currently watching. I figured I'd start this first. And I think the hype got to me. I think the overwhelming approval of this drama made my expectations of this drama way too high. I don't think it's a bad drama. I gave it an 8.5 out of 10. That is high for me, but I think I would have liked it more if I had not listened to the hype and had expectations going into this drama. I think what worked well with this drama when it aired is there was no expectations when it aired. These two people who starred in this weren't traffic stars at the time. They were known if you were a C-drama watcher, but they weren't like CDRAMA, for example. So it was kind of a dark horse when it aired. It was a pleasant surprise for a lot of people. But I think due to the conversations and the hype this drama got, it got to me and I expected way too much. Let's talk about some pros of this Chinese drama. First up, and I think everybody will agree with me, the main couple. They are definitely the highlight of this show. They are the reason why you keep watching. You root for them. You want them to have a romance. You want them to succeed in whatever they are trying to do in their revenge paths in this drama. And I loved them so much. I rooted for them. I wanted them to be together. I wanted them to have a happy ending. There are some cons with them, not necessarily them as a couple, but there are some cons that I'm going to talk about in the cons section. I also, and I think this is said by everybody and agreed upon by everybody, I love the director. I have watched the director when he was doing the short dramas. Blossom was his first try in the long form C dramas, and people said it was very successful, and I agree. And then you see him do it again very well in Pursuit of Jade. This director is known for making his dramas look beautiful, and I agree with that statement. This is a very pretty drama to watch. The use of snow was very nice. This drama is beautifully shot, and they show off the actors and the characters very well. throughout the drama. I think the director did an amazing job with this drama, and it shows. It shows that the director knows what he's doing when it comes to either shooting a short drama or a long form drama. And I get why a lot of people love this director, myself included. Along the same lines with the director, too, beautiful cinematography. As I said, the director knows how to make the drama look good and how to make the actors and the cast look good. And thus, the cinematography of this drama is beautiful and a joy to watch. And the action scenes and the fight scenes are beautifully choreographed and shot. I really enjoyed watching the cinematography of this drama because it's just so well done and shows off the story and the couple and the romance and the action scenes and everything about this drama very well. And it draws you in. The cinematography draws you in with the beauty of it all. The OSTs of this drama are also very memorable. I love the OSTs, especially because they're used strategically to heighten the emotions that are going on screen. And I think the OSTs fit the drama very well. And I listen to the OSTs a lot myself. The main couple was my favorite thing about this drama. They were a highlight. They were very good. They had chemistry together. You rooted for them. They had a really meaningful relationship. And I loved how their relationship grew from the beginning of the drama to the end of the drama. I also love that there was really no competition between the two. You had some second male leads come in and try to be a romantic competitor. It was never going to happen. And even from the male lead's perspective, there was really no competition when it came to the female lead either. So I love that there was no real second lead and there was no real romantic triangle because you never got the sense that there was real competition there. And so there was no real romantic triangle. Even if there were other options, you just didn't get the vibe that that was going to go anywhere. And I like that a lot. One more thing I'll say on the pros. Even though it was very short-lived because they had a rebirth story, the child actor who played Menzies' character when she was a teenager phenomenally acted. I loved her acting, and I am hoping to find that actress do some other dramas because she really stood out. She had phenomenal acting, and I loved seeing her character as a teenager even plot against the wrongs that she had experienced in her first life and make sure that her family went a different direction, or at least she tried to make her family go in a different direction than they did in her first life. And I thought that was very well done. Shout out to that girl actor as well. Okay, going to my cons. I love the main couple. I rooted for them so much. I felt like it took way too long for them to get together, even in the second life. I get why it went that route because the female lead was trying to avoid him, trying to be strategic. She was not trying to get in a relationship with the male lead at first, but it took way too long. Way too long. I watched Love Like the Galaxy. I can get behind a slow romance, but this for some reason seemed to be agonizing slow for no good reason. I wanted them to work together. I wanted them to get their revenge story and the outcomes of their revenge by working together. And I was rooting for them to be this power couple, and it just took way too long for them to do that. Also felt this drama somehow needed to drop some episodes. It was too long in episode count, but also the ending seemed very rushed to me. They seemed to pack in so much in the final 2 episodes, and I felt like they could have spaced that out differently, but also drop the number of episodes it had. It dragged a little bit for me. And part of that dragging, I think they could have eliminated some of the characters and their character stories too. Snow Kong's character, I loved her friendship with the female lead. I loved that they created this business and they were just really good friends. I don't understand her character switch. Like, yeah, she fell in love with the male lead's half-brother, but to just go a complete 180 and support this guy who is a monster and just write off a friendship for, in my mind, not very good reasons. And then you even got proven that you were wrong and you doubled down. I did not understand her character switch up. I saw the brother kind of becoming that evil character, but his even switch up didn't really make sense. He, for half of the drama, was portrayed as this guy who was weak and could not pick up a sword and just was maybe more of an intellectual. And then halfway through, he was this master swordsman. And I get why the drama did that because they needed an evil character. The switch did not make sense to me. It was not well formatted, and the story just all of a sudden made him really good with a sword and almost beat his brother, and it just did not make sense. They could have built that up differently. I will say some of the endings for the characters, like the stepmother, were very satisfying because you hated or at least I did. I hated the parents in this for the most part. All of the parents made me mad. I even put a short up of how mad the parents were making me feel. The father, Mengzi's father, I think had a redemption arc. I liked him at the end. I thought that was very well done. His brother, the stepmother, there was just so many adults in this drama that made your blood boil. For sure. For sure. I had a bunch of unanswered questions by the end of this drama. I think one that really stands out to me, or just even some loose threads that were brought up but then never tied by the end. One that really stood out to me, and maybe I just missed it. I don't know. But you bring on this whole connection between the male lead and the female lead with this blossom flower behind her ear. I didn't really feel like they wrapped that up very well. I didn't think they really explained that connection 100%. I kind of felt like they brought that up to be intriguing and that they had a connection, and it was kind of like fate that they ran into each other and they started this relationship and they were both dreaming about each other. But then the flower disappeared and they were together. And I didn't quite 100% get why the flower disappeared. And I didn't really think that was explained very well. I wanted it to be explained a little differently. That had a lot of weird unanswered questions for me. I thought that could have been done differently. But there was just a lot of things that I wish they could have done differently. And then also, because the last two episodes seemed very rushed to me, they kind of just ended a bunch of the villains, and like the whole emperor and the general relationship I thought was very rushed by the end and could have had a very different explanation. Or the queen's story, I thought they could have written that differently, and again, it all seemed rushed by the end, which allowed me to think about, did they answer all my questions? No, they did not. Did they even address this? A lot of the writing just seemed really rushed, and they made things the way they wanted it to be to make sure they had a happy ending at the end. Like turning the brother evil, giving the father a redemption arc. I don't even know if I was really satisfied with the sister's ending, even though she was a horrible character in episode 1. I liked how they showed a different side of her that made you pity her. But on the other hand, I was like, I wish they had kept the evil sister story. I just thought the ending allowed the story to, it didn't run off the rails or anything. It was still compact, it was still well made, it was still well written, but it was just very rushed. It was very rushed, and I wish they had taken the time to set that up a little more or even spread it out a bit. So I had a bunch of unanswered questions, and I felt like I had missed some things, which I don't think I did with the plot. Lastly, I will say I loved the first episode. I thought the first episode was one of the best first episodes I've watched in a C-drama. It explained the background beautifully in a very compact way that was understood, and then it allowed for the story to spread out in the next 33 episodes. It was also beautifully shot. It pulled you in right away. You wanted to know what happened. And then that last scene, the scene where they broke through the glass, broke through the mirror, and fell together, iconic scene at this point. I just thought episode 1 was one of the best first episodes I've seen in a C-drama in a very long time, and I can understand why it had a lot of memorable scenes in it. And that really stood out to me as a highlight of this drama for sure. So that is my review of Blossom. I gave this an 8.5 out of 10. Still a very, very, very solid C-drama. I think it just did not live up to the hype that I expected it to. But I would still highly recommend this drama, and I'm curious what you guys will think of my review and what you think about Blossom. So let me know in the comments your own review of this Chinese drama.